Office dog does whatever an office dog does. Does he do the paperwork? No, he doesn't. He just sits on the chair with an assistant grizzly. G'day guys, Chris here from Vo-Gus Prospecting. Today I am out in the Beechworth alluvial goldfields and I am doing some detecting. Now I am running the Macro Gold Racer. It is a VLF machine, so it is super sensitive to very small gold. The smallest bit of gold I found with it is a 0.03 gram bit. That is absolutely tiny. These things don't punch very deep. They're not like a mine lab that's going to find a bullet 2 foot down. These things are designed to find ultrafine gold very close to the surface, and for that reason I've come out to a terraced area. I want to talk to you about terraced areas because they're an incredibly important thing to learn about if you want to do something like what I'm doing today, and I'll also give you insight into where to look for golden streams. You know that the old timers did quite a bit of work in this area when the second that you walk off the road you're met with industry. What do you reckon this thing was? It's pretty fancy. We've got square head bolts in it. It's got some really gnarly looking teeth on it. The only thing that I don't think's period is this. It might be a bit more modern because of these split pins and those nuts. But then square head on the other side of it. So I don't know. Got a number on it. HB9. Anyone got any idea what that thing is? I want to know. Let me know. Lots of old industry. So they had everything on these creeks. They had crushers because there were reefing areas through here. They had a whole heap of encampments. They had gambling halls. They had everything. It is ridiculous when you start reading up on this. So you find yourself falling over when you don't look where you're going, and you find a lot of stuff. So coins, knives, forks, spoons, a whole heap of things, and that is really cool. I like finding relics. I think it's awesome. Okay, we're going to give you the short and skinny of it. What is a terraced area? A terraced area is somewhere where the old timers have come through and taken all the soil down to bedrock. That's the original height of the soil back there, and that went all the way down to the creek, which is about 400 meters over there through the trees, and they worked down to bedrock. That's the bedrock right there. Check it out, solid as, and you can't dig it. So that's what they were looking for, and we all know that gold stops on bedrock. That's why they were looking for it. Now I want you to imagine this area, not as it is today, not as it was 200 years ago when they were digging this out, but 10,000 years ago when the last ice age rolled through. Why is the ice age important? The ice age is important because it was the last major abrasive event of our modern history. 10,000 years ago, a whole heap of water froze, and as we know, water expands when it freezes. It's the only liquid to do that. As it froze, it shattered bedrock, and it started transporting that bedrock across the surface of the earth. As it transported that rock across the surface of the earth, it broke it up. It shattered the pieces, and these pieces ground into the bedrock underneath it, breaking off more pieces. So you can imagine that in an area like this, where we know there are gold reefs, as that ice and as these rocks scraped across the surface, it broke off a ton of gold. And it transported it long distances, and it started depositing it in different places. So we're 400 meters from the current stream, and through erosion, and because this is a soft sandstone base, that creek might have moved a couple hundred meters in that time on its own accord. But the ice age and floods and a whole heap of other weather events would have transported the gold onto these areas. and it's been left there. So when they found the gold in the creek, they started following it down, and they would have run test pits off to the side, and when they've gone off to the side, they've discovered gold, and they followed that gold until it ran out. And you can see how expansive this is. As I said, creek's 400 metres over that way. I've got 50 metres more over there. So we've got almost half a kilometre of gold fields. So how do I know that there's still gold here in this huge open area? Well, it's quite simple. I'm still finding gold in the stream down there. Now, I know where the reefing areas were for this, where the original source for all this gold was. It is miles, like 15 kilometres back upstream. And you can still access the mines. I've done a lot of detecting around there. I've done a lot of panning around there, and there's still really good gold. But only a couple kilometres from here, I was still picking up reef gold, and I was picking up nice, shiny bits of gold. Check it out. So there, you can find this sort of gold, which is still prickly, and it's only little, but it's big enough for this machine to pick it up, which means that there's string reefs somewhere around here. What is a string reef? Well, it's probably not the right terminology, first of all. This is my take on it. A string reef is like a small twig on a tree. Let me explain. Check this tree out. This is a reef. Imagine this is deep down in the middle of the earth, and for some reason, an earthquake, tectonic plate movement, whatever it might be, it causes a fracture. That fracture allows superheated magma and water to jet up to the surface. As it jets up to the surface, bringing gold and other minerals with it, it reaches a stage up where that V is, where the topsoils are weaker, but they're not under as much pressure as these, and they don't hold together as well, so it breaks up. So suddenly you've got your one main vent, and it breaks off into two, and then it breaks off into two more on each side, and then eventually you get right up the top, and you've got 50 or 60 different little branches on one little string that's coming off it. Well, the mines that we work today, or back in the 1800s, they were following these main branches. You know, that main branch might have been 5 ounces a ton of gold in a reef. But the little branch that's way up there, the little twig, might only be 10 grams per ton. Not very much. Sweet FA. You're not really going to want to pursue it. You're not really going to want to dig that out because, you know, 10 grams per ton's not even going to cover the cost of you exploding the rock out of it. But that has no relevance on what I can find. Those little reefs are still shedding, and those little reefs are embedded in this bedrock here. They're not going to be everywhere, and they're very hard to find, but they're still here. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the bits of gold that are shedding off those tiny little twigs. And if I'm very lucky, I might even find some relics. So some knives, forks, some cutlery for me to go home with, or maybe a coin. I know I'm going to dig up a lot of bullets today, and I'm not going to show you every dig because you dig a lot of trash when you're doing one of these sites. But that's the basics of why you want to look in these terraced areas. See it. Bit of old strip iron. Just found a signal next to the coolest looking tree I've ever seen in my life. It's even got topsoil up there, like it's lifted up the bedrock and then perched itself on top. Nope. Shotgun back. The primer. remembering that they started from the creek, because that's where they were finding gold, and they worked this way until the gold ran out. That means that wall there, the drop me machine, that wall there where my car is sitting is where they stopped. Now they stopped because the gold wasn't payable. Often you'll see hydrosluice pits and whatnot with like a little offshoot channel that doesn't look like it fits with the rest of it. Well, that's them testing to see if the gold was still payable, still worth digging. And they do the same thing here. So you'll see it undulate in and out. So they would have found good gold here, or say they would have found good gold down there, and then they've dug this test pit out here and they found bugger all. So they haven't bothered to continue on over there or over here. These places here doesn't mean there's no gold there. It just means that it wasn't payable for them. If they needed an ounce a day per man, then they're not going to dig it if they're only getting a quarter ounce. That has no relevance on how much gold I can find today though. So always check the walls. We're going to do a quick run up here. There is a lot of rubbish up there, so I'm a bit hesitant, but we're going to do a quick run up there. And then on the way back out, we've got a spot that I'm going to go test pan because I found a really nice bedrock section with some promise. My deepest hole of the day there, because again, like I said, this is where the gold was running out, and they had most of their industry, by the looks of it, sitting up here. So they weren't really working. This is probably a processing area or a living area or something like that. And this explains why I'm finding this, which is opium tin, which could mean that there were Chinese workings behind here. Obviously a lot of Europeans were addicted to the stuff as well. But you find this everywhere in the gold fields around here, especially around El Dorado. If you detect in El Dorado, be prepared to dig a buttload of opium tin, and it pings right in the same range as gold on my machine, so I'm assuming it will sound very similar on other people's machines as well. Well, we're here. That wasn't that hard, was it? So on my way in this morning, I was looking at all the different terrace areas, and I thought I'd just check this spot out because you can see how the creek narrows compared to where we were. It's not as wide and flat. And when I got down here, I saw it was bedrock. And just behind, a little inside bend down here, was the first load of gravel. So it's the first place, because of the narrow creek and the bedrock, that the gold has dropped out, or it could drop out, should I say. Now, there was almost no dirt in that. Most of it was large rock and or pebble. So, I don't know. There might be, there might not be. But looking at the geology just here, it makes me a little bit hopeful that there could be a nice trench or a pocket where gold could accumulate. So we won't leave just after this, we'll just keep looking. You can see the heavies, all the black, large bits of ironstone. That's always a good sign that this is where heavies have dropped out. So is there gold? There is gold. Look at that bit of gold straight off the bat. I didn't even pick up dirt. That's a nice little bit for this creek. So this creek's gold, because we are so far down the system, like I said earlier when I was detecting, doesn't have a lot of coarse chunky gold. So to find that bit is really cool. Alright, I think it's worth setting the crock up. Look at what's underneath my feet. We've got large boulders, and we all know that large boulders indicate that that's where the pressure's dropped off, and that means that there's a good chance that underneath my feet there's going to be a good deposit of gold. Just up here though, just there is where the bedrock starts. So we know that there's a dip here. There's obviously a bowl or a basin just there, and that'll be worth working out. But okay, I've run about 20 shovels out of this pool, and it hasn't been, there's not that much dirt, just like there was in that first pan that you saw down there. So I'm not sure. I don't know. Like maybe there's going to be some gold in that. I definitely need to bring back my yabby pump or my hand pump to suck off the bottom, because you can feel all these crags and crevices down there. and you know there's going to be some gold, and those crevices are going to hold on to it. So I have to come back with that hand pump and do it. I'm not going to move the crock. I don't want to move it because this is a very precarious way I've set it up. I'm going to dig out in that inside bend that nice calm water down there, because I reckon that there might be other bits of gold in there. So we'll just walk it up and feed it in.
You fell in. Sorry.
I constantly get asked about the croc losing nuggets, but it's letting rocks like that through. So a nugget bigger than that's just going to be sitting right in front of the grizzly bars. Like, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's still letting nuggets that would be several grams through them. I think that's pretty cool. It's a decent screen size. Ah, there was gold in that dirt. Oh, that's not bad. I can live with that. It's not the hugest clean out I've ever had by a long shot, but there's gold, and I did several pans where I picked up some more gold as well. Yeah, how cool is that? Just rocked up and did it. I reckon hand pump off the bottom, because they will suck more up and you'll just get a better result, I reckon. So I'll tidy this up and throw it all in a pan for you. Well guys, how cool was that? Did a terraced area, found a lot of junk, didn't find much impressive stuff at all grizzly, found some junk, then decided to move on to testing out the little spot I found whilst looking for those terraced areas to work, and found gold. Not a lot, some, it was alright, it was good. I was very excited by that. It's not about how much, it's just about getting out there and finding it. So I had an absolute blast. I hope you guys have learned something about terraced areas and just how important they can be to your prospecting, because what you're finding in the creeks is directly related to some of those areas, and it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for them. And if you have a detector, swing it over them. You can find all sorts of fun stuff, not just gold, but old coins, knives, guns, the whole lot. I have one itchy eye at the moment. It's ridiculous. Well, thank you very much for watching. Remember to hit like and subscribe to my channel, because you can enter some of the competitions that we're going to have in the very near future, including the pay dirt giveaway we're doing on the 7th of February. And in March, my fundraiser for Beyond Blue, there has been some fantastic sponsors jump on board for it. So you want to be like and subscribe just so you can get involved with those giveaways, because they are awesome. We've got a croc gold trap to give away, we've got a gold nugget to give away, we've got wine, we've got a whole lot of stuff, and you want to be involved with it. Thank you very much for watching guys. As always, hope to catch you out here sometime. I'm out.